You know, just like it is actually attacking the romance of the notion of mother. And it, you know, he just wasn't willing to accept it whatsoever.
He didn't want to see
No,
that.
he was not having it, you know.
Which is something you're doing in the fountain with the three figures that you were telling me relate to your own experience of nausea and vomiting throughout your...
Yeah, because, you know, if you are a mother, you know it, but if you're not, there's no explaining it. And, you know, I mean, I was pregnant with two of my girlfriends, and that's also what they're in the fountain as well.
Okay.
But, you know, neither one of them had the same experience as myself of like just throwing up every day all over everything. So, yeah, there's I think a lot of my own ambivalence and rage and frustration and fear and insecurity and anxiety about being a mother are in all the works around us, you know.
And it's amazing that you were able to jump back into working as an artist with your son just having been born, right? Because I remember visiting you at the studio, and then you were checking how he was doing through a camera on your computer as you were working. So.
Yeah, there he is on the laptop, and there I am painting behind me. So yeah, it was quite an experience.
And you made it.
I made it, and so did he. Just a few bumps and bruises for both of us. You know, yeah, it's really difficult kind of reconciling the guilt you feel when you're, you know, in the studio and not with him.
Taking time away
from him, and then the anxiety you feel when you're with him and not in your studio. There's just no, you know, you're living with one or the other, and there's just no way to not do either, you know.
Together.
And, you know, if I didn't make them, I would just die. So.
Okay, so maybe we can ask if there's any question.
I have a question about the boxed-in boxing gloves. Because I experienced so much like almost a darshan effect with the lingams and with these pieces here. And also the sculptures are very tactile. They can draw you in, they want to be touched. And there you really box them in and you're protecting them in some way.
Yeah. I think it's also maybe the fact that I've never ever been in a physical fight in my entire life.
So you're protecting yourself from them?
Yeah, from actually, you know, entering that, you know, I don't want to. There's so much of me that, you know, like as women, there's so much anger that we live with all the time that I don't want to put them on myself to get into a mode where I would actually act upon that feeling, you know. And it's a curious thing, right? Like where it's a powerful thing to put them on and to have that power to say I can, you know, defend myself. But I'd rather defend myself with my mouth and my mind than ever doing it physically. All of my warring with internally, externally is always just going to be, you know, verbal, not physical. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
And perhaps also with your anti-monumental tension in your sculptures, because it seems like there you want to celebrate that moment, but you do it in a very delicate way through the transparency of the box. So you isolate them and put them up there as objects, and, as I said, to celebrate them, but without the rhetoric monumentality that could achieve.
And it's also like very much like the paintings about them being like, who knows how long this boxing school is going to be able to remain open? Who knows how long they'll be able to train, or if they are still training, or they've been made to stop and married off.
Right.
You know,
question about it. Format of the paintings. The paintings, none of them. You never paint square paintings, and obviously that's a choice that you can explain us why as well. And there is another thing I think that is almost like in each painting. You also there is something that you leave out almost, and you as a viewer you have to really engage with the painting to try, and it's somehow many of them are in very intimate details. There is very rarely full figure, but even in that figure you feel like there is something else that you're leaving out. So I wanted to ask about those two aspects, the format and how what you're leaving out of the paintings.
The format, Alice is really drawn to the circle and the oval as also representations of feminine, and wanting very much to stay away from this white, cube rectangle format, which dominates painting in every possible way. It has a real male attachment to it, where it took so long to even re-enter painting because of how scared everyone is to paint these days because of the history and this and that of it. So, using a circular and an oval format immediately gets rid of 90% of paintings. 99% of paintings don't happen to be in this, and so it, formally reduces the number of associations that are attached to it as well, and it also makes them a lot less. It makes them informal, as in casual, and that was something that was really important to that. And in terms of the leaving out, I'll say that the most physical leaving out, say, is the leaving out of the groom from between the two brides in the second wife painting of Mukhtar and Mai and her co-wife, where it was, just removing the man from the equation itself, from the painting itself. It seemed like a really important gesture, because in a way it's the two women that are going to be living with each other, in a much deeper way than the man is. And so it's, to leave out means what's there gets a lot more attention. So that's also what the idea of leaving out, and every one of them is painted from a photograph from the internet. So other than the figures, their entire context has been removed. And all you're presented with is the choice that this person made in this specific painting. Not their entire life, not their life history, but this specific choice and this specific. So it just seemed like, to go really macro was, what would be universal.
I think that's, we've reached a natural conclusion.
Thank you.
Thank you.